Hello everybody, and we are still here at Polkadot Decoded in Brussels, and we are making some introduction to Ken from Polimec, who would like to introduce the Polimec protocol, which is a decentralized fundraising mechanism built on chain with Substrate. So, can you introduce what basically is Polimec?
Happy to do so. Hey everyone, already here. So Polimec, as you said, is a decentralized funding protocol that allows, on one side, projects to raise funds on a global and efficient but compliant manner, and on the other side, it helps investors from retail, professional, and institutional to access early stage funding rounds, make it more accessible. So think of it as launching a token sale as easy as ICO, but compliant.
So it's basically, we can imagine this like a decentralized Kickstarter, maybe?
Yes, we get very many comparisons to launchpads, but we want to differ very much from launchpads because they are centralized in decision making, and the processes like handling of the funds is all centralized or manually. On Polimec, all the decisions are taken by the community. So the community decides what projects can raise funds and not whoever pays most to raise funds. And all the incentives are aligned based on our token model.
These decisions decided by governance, by Polimec token holders.
Well, we have a governance that is based on Polkadot V1. Very similar to that. But that is just for the general protocol development. To assess which projects or decide which projects can raise funds, we use an evaluation phase. And what that means is that everyone with our tokens, the PLMC, can become an evaluator by bonding a token to support a project. And what that means is that a project can only raise funds if it has minimum of 10% backing from evaluators, that can be anyone, to start the fundraise. So if the fundraise then is successful, evaluators that back the project are rewarded in the project token, so they get tokens from the project. And if it's not successful, they get slashed. And this is how we decide, or how everyone decides, which project gets to raise funds.
So there is some game theory or crypto economic built into this logic.
Exactly. So it's not like on launchpads where we as a team or a team of analysts decides which projects can be listed, or because they paid the highest fee, but it's really based on whoever thinks it's a good thing and should be presented to investors.
I see. And how many projects did some fundraise on Polimec, and is there any fundraising which are currently happening on the protocol?
Yeah, definitely. So we have launched in May. So with the first fundraise in May, as of now, we have on our app, that is on app.polimec.org. You will see 7 projects that are announced. One of them that is right now in the fundraise is Impact Scope, that tokenize carbon impact and ESG. And however, apart from that 7 projects, we have about 30 projects to 40 in the pipeline that are planning to raise funds on Polimec, and some of the upcoming projects that are also very interesting. We start off with, of course, crypto native projects. Some of them you may know, like Hyperbridge for blockchain interoperability. We have a gaming project, for example, and many others. So I suggest you to check them out so you see what it's about.
Yeah, I checked it. So I have some new information about basically Hyperbridge, which is, in my opinion, a very bullish news for the Polkadot ecosystem. So I think I will try Polimec protocol to invest into Hyperbridge.
That is good to know.
Yes. So these are fantastic news. And have you got some news regarding the future?
Yes. So of course, adding more projects to the pipeline and making them public is one, but of course we're already looking ahead a bit more. So on the tech side, one priority to grow user base, of course, is EVM interoperability. We already mentioned that. So I think that is one of the main priorities for this year. And another one is to, of course, that is the V1 we now have. And then we want to, of course, launch other products that allow the settlement of financial transactions based on a KYC credential that allow many various use cases that go into real-world assets or just TradFi on-chain, basically, to settle primary market transactions on-chain.
I see. And one more question. I have a lot of friends in the Polkadot ecosystem, and basically a lot of people in the meantime, they are Polkadot ambassadors and also Polimec ambassadors.
Okay.
So you have a lot of Polimec ambassadors.
Exactly.
And how did you achieve this success? Because I think it's a good stuff to have a lot of ambassadors behind the project.
Yeah, it's like an army. So, yeah, of course, there's some efforts connected to it, but I think that's really worth it because it's in our slogan, community driven. So I think you cannot stand for that and not go that route yourself. How we did that, it's basically thanks to David and Flavio from my team, who from the start built up a great ambassador program that makes sure that you have ambassadors around the world and you can also decentralize and make people hear about it. It's crazy. They made events in the Philippines, in Latin America, so even doing events and presentations, exactly. And so that is an ambassador program. That is actually a program you can be part of. And we also do that, of course, for projects that come to Polimec. We help them structure their ambassador program and basically tell them or learn the findings, what we think, how it's done right. So they are also have a broad community backing and token holder base from the start.
Wow,
exactly.
I see. Okay, thank you, Ken. I think it's good to know how Polimec works and how can one more question.
Yes.
How people can invest into projects on Polimec?
You mean with the currencies or the process?
The process and the currencies as well.
So the process is quite simple. So we have first an evaluation phase, which I mentioned, that determines due diligence, which projects can raise funds based on monetary incentives. Once the fundraise starts, we have an auction round that is for professional and institutional investors that allows price discovery if it's oversubscribed. And then a community round where also additionally to professional and institutional retail can invest. But important is that it's on the weighted average price in case it went up in the first round to make sure that also retail participants can access deals at same terms basically as the professional or institutional ones. However, retail is not that good in assessing the valuation and so on. That's why we have this first round to make a price, and then the others can go in the same conditions. In terms of participation currencies, we as of now, we support DOT, USDT and USDC. We also launched a deposit app to be able to teleport your tokens to the Polimec blockchain and use them there. So we start with those three currencies, and then of course you need PLMC to be able to access it by bonding those.
Mm-hmm. And then before this whole process, people have to going through KYC stuff.
Yes, so that is how we implemented compliance. Basically, we think that a crypto project is not the best or not best suited to perform KYC or AML. That's why we partnered with Deloitte, that are a very trusted entity by financial institutions or governments. And how it works is that for the first time, a user directly engages with Deloitte. So you as an investor, you perform a KYC at Deloitte, and only Deloitte has your data, underlying data, and you don't distribute those data, your personal information, to all the different projects you invest in or Polimec, but it's safe at Deloitte. However, you receive a credential in your wallet, in the Deloitte wallet, and we verify, or Polimec verifies the credential before you can access a round and make sure that you are not an investor type or from a country that the project didn't want. So we don't have your data, and we also don't store it, and that is why it allows pseudonymous participation, even though you are KYC. So you don't have any traces on that on Polimec as well.
I see. Okay, thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the interest.
So bye, guys.